Shouldn't life be easy? Right? Shouldn't life be easy? Isn't that like why we have all the things that we have in our life? The reason I have a dishwasher is so that I don't have to do dishes. The reason I have a washing machine is so I don't have to wash my clothes. The reason I have a dryer is because I don't want to wait for things to dry. Right? The reason we have a vacuum machine is so that I don't have to, like, I don't know, rake my carpet or whatever you do if you didn't have a vacuum machine. I wouldn't even know. What do you do? The reason we have all these things in our life is because we want life to be easy. And we get this. We understand that this is the message that the world tells us. Hey, you know what? If you have a desire, go. Chase that, find that, do that, get that. If there's something inside of you that you want to do, you should be able to do it. You should just go and be free and have all of those things that you want in life, whatever that is, go and do. And Jesus is exactly the opposite. In Luke, Jesus says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily. Didn't Christ come to make things easy? Isn't that the whole purpose that if we follow Jesus, then we will be able to have a better life? We'll have a better life now, right? Isn't that the idea? And that is the idea. If we follow Jesus, we do what he says, we pay attention to the precepts he gives us, we know that our relationships will be better, that we will be blessed, that we will even see the hand of God in our life. And we can't compare with what eternity looks like. I mean, that's eternity. And if we follow Jesus, we know that we'll have that. But I want you to be very clear. I want you to hear these words. If you don't hear anything else I say today, hear this. Jesus didn't come to remove your suffering. He came to send you to the suffering. When we read what he was telling us about today in Luke 17, he calls us worthless slaves. I mean, that's all kinds of deep, right? In our American culture, when we say slaves, right, you have to put up the big old flag and you have to say, hold on, you're not allowed to use that language in public. We don't talk about that, don't we? Isn't that right? Worthless? No, I have value. I'm a valuable person. I'm a free individual. Your message about Jesus, it doesn't work. You should preach something else. But that's one of our core principles, is that we are worthless slaves. Right? We have the first core principle is pray. Pray. Pray without ceasing. Pray constantly. Pray in the good times. Pray in the bad times. Pray nonstop. Be committed to the Word. Get into the Bible. Get into Bible studies. Get into worship. Find opportunities for you to connect with God. Go out in mission and spread that word so other people might have the goodness and have the life everlasting. Get ready for miracles. God is working in your life. And get ready for suffering for God's glory. Following Christ has many benefits, both now and eternal. But I have to tell you that if you're going to follow Jesus, you're going to be challenged. There are going to be things and places in your life, and I don't know where you are, right? I know that we have some new people that I don't even know in church today, and I know people who are all along the spectrum. There are people who are trying to follow Jesus, and no matter where you are on that spectrum, Jesus will challenge you to reorder your life around Him. And as soon as you decide you're going to reorder your life, you will find challenge. It will be difficult. You will say, I don't want to do it like that. I'd rather do it like this. And you will wrestle with that. And that's not something you're going to want to do. But that's exactly what Jesus said. In our Bible verse today, he said, look, you're going to go out and you're going to be plowing the fields or tending the sheep or whatever it is you do for a living, your job. You're going to be doing those things. You're going to come in the house. You're going to be done with your work. It's going to be great. You're finally going to get to put your feet up and have a beer. And then I'm going to tell you, no, you need to work more. Jesus says, no, I'm going to call you then. You're going to do all these things. You're going to break your back doing all your work, and then you're going to serve me. And that's going to be suffering for you because you're going to have to reorder your life. The way that you think things should be are not the way that things should be. I'm going to tell you how they should be because I'm your master, says Jesus. Now you need to go plant a Sunday school. Now you need to go to Habitat for Humanity. Now you need to go on a mission trip. Now you need to step up your offering. Now you need to play in the band. Now you need to fill in the blank for my service, says God. Because it's my mission, not yours. I'm the master, and when He calls us worthless slaves. And the world's going to say, it's okay. Compromise. You don't need to be single-minded. And you're going to tell yourself it's all right. And the world's going to tell you it's okay. And you're going to find ways to skirt around whatever those callings are that God has for you in your life. And you're going to lower the bar, and it's going to be easy. And when you find yourself there, you need to recognize that if there isn't a sacrifice in your life, that there's a problem. There at least better be one sacrifice hung on a cross and died for you. At least that one. And if there isn't another one, then you better wonder how come that first sacrifice doesn't have any meaning. Why is it that all of a sudden it's okay to compromise? And when the world tells you it's okay, you can compromise, you should be embarrassed by that. In fact, what should happen is the world should look at you and say, you're a nutcase. Why are you going through all this length? You don't need to do that. Reel it back. It'll be all right. And when they make fun of you, and when they mock you, and when they say, hey, no, you've gone too far. You're clearly obsessing. Bring it back to normal, would you? Get out of the stratosphere. Then you can say, yes, my reward is great. And you can revel in that. And you can say, I am glad that they are attacking me and they think I've gone too far. Because that's exactly what Jesus said. He went up to this high mountain, this hillside, and he started talking to everybody. And he had this sermon on this mount, and he said, blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. And so if you find yourself in this situation where you've had to sacrifice things that you want for Jesus, and you think, why am I doing this? Why am I going through such lengths? Remember about your reward in heaven. Because Jesus sees this. Maybe I don't see it. Maybe it's not a picture that you can take and put on Facebook. Maybe it's a picture you don't want to put on Facebook. But God knows. And you can rejoice. And you can know that you are in line with the people who have come before you. The men and the women who saw Jesus live, die, crucified, and was raised acted like this. They went about their life doing exactly this. They went to people, and when they were persecuted, they said, this is wonderful. This is what happened in Acts 5. As they left the council, they rejoiced that they were considered worthy to suffer dishonor for the sake of his name. They considered it a valuable thing that they got to suffer. Now, that doesn't make much sense to the world. The world doesn't understand that. But if you know Jesus, then you know that's exactly what he did. He lived his entire life preaching, telling people, and the night that he was betrayed, he was sitting in that garden, the Garden of Gethsemane, and he knew it was coming. He knew it wasn't easy, but he was going to walk down that road. You know what was at the end of that road? That cross road? The crossroad has a torture device at the end of it. And the way that you get to it is by being reviled, stripped naked, beaten, attacked, made fun of, tortured, hung, and died slowly. That's what the crossroad is. Welcome to your church, Crossroad. And he's sitting there in the middle of that garden at night, and he knows what's at the end of that road, and he doesn't want to do it, because who wants to suffer? I mean, let's be honest. When I'm talking about suffering, I'm not talking about frivolous suffering. I'm talking about real, honest to God, get your gut in the game, can I make it through this? That's what Jesus was facing. He said, not my will, but yours be done, Lord. Thanks be to God, he did. Because if he hadn't suffered, we wouldn't be saved. And we know that if you decide that Jesus is the way that you're going to suffer, things will change in your life. You will be changed. That is to say that you will be able to suffer easier because you've already decided that you're going to suffer. There's no other option here. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, and soon enough it doesn't become a suffering. This is what Paul says about suffering in Romans. He says, suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces hope, and hope does not disappoint because God's love has been poured out into our heart When you suffer, you gain this endurance, this ability to continue to suffer, because you understand that the reason you're suffering isn't just because you like it or you want more of it, it's because you know that there's a good end at the end. You know that the reason for suffering has meaning, that you're not just going through the motions. Look, anybody can wear a cross around their neck, but only a Christian can wear a cross on their back. When you recognize in the middle of this suffering that you're going to give this up to God and you're just going to continue whatever that is, whatever your suffering is, then you will realize that you have a gift, that God called you in the middle of that suffering, and you'll be able to see why you exist. You'll be able to say, I have this gift. I'm going through this thing. And you know what? I bet other people are going through this too. I can't help myself. I'm lost in this suffering. Maybe if I reach out. And maybe if you reach out, somebody's suffering. Maybe if you've been in that suffering and you're in that suffering, you can reach out and you can help somebody too. And you can share this. This is the gift that God has given you. It's a crazy thing, but suffering is the gift from God. And you know what happens when you do that is you recognize that your faith is yours. Increase my faith, you've got it. You found it. Hardened. If you have gold and you want to make it pure, you put it in a very hot fire. You can't put it in a little fire. If you find yourself in a big suffering, you understand that when you come out of that, you'll be more pure than you were when you went into it. And when you do that, then you bring something to the table, which is what we're doing here. We're not here for entertainment. There's a football game going on right now. If y'all want to be entertained, there's much better ways to spend your time. There's better musicians. Maybe you happen to know, I don't know, Led Zeppelin. Maybe there's some bands that you like. You could go follow them right now. You could go on tour with Fish. There's nothing that says that you can't do that. But none of those ways will bring you or let you bring the goodness of God. And if you bring the goodness of God, then when you come here, all those little things don't matter. My sermons don't matter. You didn't come here for my sermons. Brooks's solos don't matter. It doesn't matter if he missed a note or hit them all. You didn't come here to sing the songs that we came. You came here to meet and encounter your God. If you want a better sermon, there's a better sermon going on TV right now. Joyce Meyer and Joel Osteen are very practiced orators, and they will tell you all kinds of pretty things that you want to hear. And not once will they tell you you are to suffer. But they will tell you, buy my book. You can't buy my book. I don't get revenues from this one. And this one will tell you to suffer. In fact, you can't avoid it. Every single book of the New Testament talks about suffering. Without fail, every single book of the New Testament talks about suffering. In the time that I've been here, we've had about 100 people who are not members start worshiping with us. About 100 people. Some of those people have decided to stay. Some of those people have decided to go. Turns out about 50-50. The difference between whether somebody stays or whether somebody goes may be my sermons. Maybe the songs, maybe that we weren't opening or welcoming, maybe that they didn't like the color of our carpet. I don't know why people decide to come or go, but I know that if you know that it's not going to be peaches and cream, that the reason you come or go isn't for all of those things. It's for Jesus, which is the only reason we're here. Which means whatever happens to separate us as individuals, we know that we're united in the bigger front, which is that there is real work to do. There is real suffering. There will be times of trial. And if you expect comfort, if you expect it to be beautiful, when it's not, you'll leave. You may just leave here. You may lose your faith. And the reason I bring this message is because I would be held accountable by our God if I didn't bring this message to you. If you thought everything was going to be pretty, I would be held accountable to that. It's not going to be pretty. You will go through, and you may be even going through hard times right now. The purpose of Jesus and His call in our life is not to avoid the cross, it's to go through it.